English from A to Z. We are diving deep today, and if your goal is to speak English with confidence and move past that feeling of being stuck in translation, well, consider this your essential blueprint. This is the deep dive designed to get you speaking daily, naturally, and, quickly.
Today, we are analyzing a very special source. It's a collection of 100 essential daily English sentences.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not just treating this as like a checklist to memorize. We're treating it as a strategic map. This is basically the structural DNA of daily communication broken down across 10 critical scenarios you face every single day.
That's exactly what the learner needs. I mean, you don't want to spend years memorizing obscure idioms. You want the core operating system of English.
That's a great way to put it.
And our mission today is to analyze why these 100 phrases form the perfect scaffolding for confidence. We'll expose the grammar rules, the social functions, and the hidden power behind these seemingly simple statements.
And we are grounded in the philosophy of the material itself, which is built entirely around action. I mean, the core instruction given to the user is so direct.
What is it?
The more you repeat, the more confident you will become.
Simple as that.
And we're going to translate that philosophy into structural knowledge. By the time we finish, you won't just know what to say, you'll understand why you are saying it, giving you the power to manipulate that structure for any situation.
Okay, let's unpack this blueprint. We have to start with the most fundamental building blocks. The language you use when you are on your own turf, setting the stage for the entire day.
Exactly.
We begin with the first 20 sentences, which cover routine and relaxation.
Oh, okay. So when we examine the sentences describing the daily routine, what we see immediately is this perfect functional split between two core tenses.
A functional split?
Yeah. Think of English communication about time in terms of technology. One tense is your, let's say, your fixed calendar entry,
And the other.
and the other is your live GPS update.
Oh, I love that analogy. Okay, so the fixed calendar entry, that has to be the simple present tense, right? It handles habits, facts, all those permanent schedules.
Exactly.
We see it immediately. I wake up early every morning. That sentence tells the world, this is my standard operation. This is reliable.
Precisely. If you were describing a permanent schedule or an established habit, something that happens regularly, reliably, you use the simple present. This is absolutely foundational.
Then the live GPS.
That's the present continuous. It's for when you are currently doing the action or if it's a temporary thing.
That contrast comes alive in sentences like, I'm brushing my teeth right now.
Ugh.
You are signaling an action that is currently underway. It prevents confusion.
It really does.
Because if you mistakenly said, I brush my teeth right now, it just sounds robotic.
It does. It confuses the listener. Is this a habit or is it happening this very second? Getting that functional difference between the tenses is just critical for coordination. And the sequence matters immensely here. I mean, these sentences teach a logical, a temporal progression. We start with the internal status. I need a few minutes to fully wake up.
Right, and notice the word need. This isn't just a statement of fact.
No, it's more than that.
It's a polite justification or, explanation for any grogginess or slowness.
Yeah.
It manages expectations, which is such an essential social function.
Then we shift to action preparation. I'm getting ready for the day. Again, the present continuous. This communicates to anyone who might interrupt you, a family member, a colleague calling, that you are occupied, but you're moving toward readiness. It's a status update that maintains social harmony. The language also handles your departure gracefully. I'm leaving the house in a few minutes.
Okay, what's so fascinating here is the present continuous being used to describe a definite future action.
Yes, and this is a really common pattern in native English. When something is scheduled and very certain to happen soon, the continuous tense communicates immediacy. It does it way better than the simple future, I will leave.
That slight difference gives the phrase an urgency that, I don't know, I will leave the house eventually, just doesn't have.
Not at all.
It shows the learner that grammar isn't rigid, it's context-driven.
And this section wisely includes sentences that handle the inevitable exceptions to the routine. Most of the sentences describe successful outcomes, like the use of the simple past showing completion. I arrived just on time.
Right. A clean, factual report of a successful arrival.
But the reality of daily life, well, it often involves delays.
Of course. And the blueprint provides the perfect escape valve for that. I'm running a little late today.
Yeah,
That phrase, running a little late, is a conversational lifesaver.
it really is.
It uses the continuous tense to signal the ongoing problem, and crucially, that little qualifier, a little, minimizes the social damage. It's a polite acknowledgement that you recognize the deviation without causing a panic.
If you simply said, I am late, it feels harsh. It's blunt and provides no context.
Right.
But I'm running late emphasizes the ongoing effort to fix the situation. So mastering this contrast between the fixed calendar simple present for a reliable routine and the live GPS continuous for immediate status. It gives the learner total control over explaining their movements and schedule from sunrise right to the office door.
Okay, so having covered the language of getting out the door, we now pivot to the language of maintaining and settling in to the home domain.
Right.
If the morning was about speed and efficiency, this section is all about necessity and decompression.
The linguistic focus here shifts heavily to the construction of obligation and requirement. We call it the necessity framework, the need-to structure.
And this is a crucial phrase for conveying personal obligation without sounding, demanding or overly formal. Right?
Exactly. Look at the examples. I need to clean the house, or even I need to relax for a while.
It covers both things, the mandatory chores and the mandatory self-care. It's clear, it's concise, and it signals to anyone listening that this action is high on your personal priority list. It just sets the expectation for what you're doing.
And while need to defines the obligation, we still rely on the present continuous for the ongoing domestic tasks. I'm cooking dinner right now, and I'm doing laundry today.
And those are the immediate, perfect responses if you get a phone call, right?
Yeah.
To explain your preoccupation.
Yes. The continuous action lets the caller know you are busy, but you'll probably be available soon.
And a quick point on common errors here. Learners often try to use the simpler structure, like, I cook dinner.
Right, which sounds like a habit.
Exactly. It implies you cook dinner every single day. The continuous tense, I'm cooking dinner, is the functional tool for showing the specific current activity. This collection of sentences subtly reinforces that difference without, hitting you over the head with grammar rules.
And what makes this collection so smart is that it includes sentences that bridge the gap from necessity to sensory experience. We move beyond simple tasks to conveying feeling and atmosphere.
The house feels cozy.
Yes. That's a perfect example of using descriptive verbs and adjectives to communicate emotion and environment, not just action.
That's so vital for conversational depth. It moves the learner from being purely transactional, I clean, I cook, to relational, I feel comfortable, the atmosphere is pleasant.
It adds that emotional texture that native speakers rely on all the time.
Yeah.
And as the day winds down, the intention shifts from activity to rest. We see simple statements of intention that signal closure to potential social interaction.
I need to relax for a while.
And the definite plan, I'm going to bed early. Notice the use of I'm going to for a future plan. It's slightly more intentional, less rigid than the simple future I will.
And finally, you get this simple, powerful bookends to the day. Today was a long day, using the simple past to summarize and conclude the experience.
Followed by the definitive sign-off, good night, sleep well.
That paraphrases completes the entire 24-hour routine.
By repeating these initial 20 sentences, you're not just acquiring vocabulary, you are internalizing the stable structure of the simple present, the flexible nature of the present continuous, and the functional power of that necessity framework.
This is confidence born of structural stability.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've established internal control. Now we step out of the private sphere and into the transactional world.
Right.
This next section is all about getting results efficiently, politely, and clearly, whether we're talking to a colleague or a cashier.
The language of the professional world is highly structured. It's really built around two concepts: polite request and clear commitment.
Okay.
And if the first section relied on simple tenses, this section relies almost entirely on modal verbs.
Mhm.
Can, will, may, could, because they facilitate negotiation and expectation management.
So let's break down the language of request.
Yeah.
The most direct and critical phrase for opening the door to teamwork is, can you help me with this?
Standard, effective, and polite.
It is. It's a soft request, not a demand.
But let's be critical for a moment. What if the task is complex? Or maybe it involves a superior? If I say, can you help me, to my CEO, it might feel a little blunt.
It could, yeah.
So this is where the learner should explore alternatives. A slightly softer approach, maybe using the conditional tense, might be, I wonder if you could help me with this. The blueprint phrase gives you the foundation, but recognizing the need for could or wonder adds nuance for those high-stakes professional settings.
That's great because it shows how the blueprint is a starting point, not a restrictive ceiling.
Exactly.
And once the task is delegated or discussed, managing the pace of communication is key. This is where the future simple tense, specifically the contraction "I'll," becomes so pervasive.
Sentences like, I'll get back to you soon and I'll send it to you right away, are basically verbal promises. They manage the listener's expectation about when the action will occur.
Right away signals immediate priority. Soon signals that it's on the radar, but not instant.
They're functional communication tools using the future simple tense.
But let's analyze the social function of "I'll get back to you soon." Is that always a promise?
That's a good question.
Because often, in a professional context, that phrase functions as a polite delay tactic. You don't have the answer now, and you need to close the conversation politely without seeming dismissive.
So the language is actually an escape route, not just a commitment.
Exactly.
That's the deeper insight. It's an efficient verbal bookmark. And when you are actively engaged, efficiency dictates using the present continuous for status updates. I'm working on it right now.
Right. This instantly communicates task status without forcing you to waste time detailing your process. Just says, I am busy, but I am productive.
The sentences also wisely cover the necessary social lubricants for meetings, like expressing agreement.
I agree with your idea, which is formal and direct.
And then, that sounds good to me, which is a bit more informal. It emphasizes emotional alignment rather than purely intellectual consensus. Both are necessary.
And finally, the structure that holds the professional day together: time management. I have a meeting in a few minutes.
A critical use of the simple present to convey a near-future appointment.
And the essential pause phrase, which often determines team morale. Let's take a short break.
Yes, the imperative "let's" signals shared action and responsibility for that break.
This section gives the learner the tools to enter the professional arena and sound decisive, collaborative, and in control of their commitments and schedule.
For sure. Now, moving from the structured environment of the office to the transactional environment of the store, the language becomes focused on information retrieval and securing a good deal.
It's a different game.
It is. And the core of retail interaction really boils down to asking three primary, unavoidable questions that rely on distinct grammatical structures.
Okay, first, the money question. How much does this cost? Simple present tense, inquiring about the objective, permanent price.
Then second, the availability or variety question. Do you have this in a different size? This uses the helping verb do to inquire about existence or stock. And third, the logistical question. Do you accept credit cards? Again, using the simple present tense for a statement of fact about the store's policy.
If a learner masters just those three structures, they can complete what, 90% of retail interactions globally?
I'd say so, yeah.
But shopping is rarely that clean, right? It involves browsing and making decisions. The blueprint includes the critical phrases for polite inspection.
It does. For clothes, you need permission. Can I try this on? Using the modal can to request permission to use a facility, the dressing room. And this is where social function really trumps vocabulary. In many Western cultures, sales assistants are trained to be helpful sometimes, aggressively so.
I've been there.
So the learner needs a polite way to establish a boundary and maintain their privacy.
That's where the phrase, "I'm just looking, thank you," functions as a vital social shield.
It's perfect.
Use the present continuous, "I'm just looking," to signal an ongoing action that requires no immediate interruption. And the thank you maintains politeness while establishing a clear boundary. It avoids the awkwardness of a firm no.
And then we get to the money stuff negotiation and boundaries. That's too expensive for me, is a clear, definitive statement of a financial boundary.
And it doesn't insult the product.
No, it just states a personal constraint.
And that boundary often prompts the next key inquiry, looking for a deal. Do you have any discounts?
Right. And note the use of any for plural, non-specific quantity, a small grammatical detail that makes the question sound so native and natural. Finally, the critical conditional question focusing on logistics. Can I return this if it doesn't fit?
This structure is brilliant because it combines the modal can to inquire about policy or possibility with the if clause, establishing a condition necessary for purchase.
It teaches the learner how to handle future uncertainty through clear conditional language.
So from price checking to establishing return policies, these sentences fully prepare the learner for the entire consumer journey, ensuring they don't get caught flat-footed at the register.
Absolutely.
All right, section 3. This is pure functional communication under pressure. When you're hungry, lost, or pressed for time, clarity is, well, it's non-negotiable.
Yes, these sentences are focused entirely on getting a desired outcome quickly and efficiently.
Starting with dining out.
Dining out is a structured social ritual, and these sentences teach the learner how to smoothly progress through that ritual.
It begins with a foundational request for service.
Right, using the polite conditional "I'd like," the phrase "I'd like a table for two" is standard. It's much preferred over the overly direct and potentially rude "I want a table."
After you're seated, it's about decision-making. We need the tools to ask for guidance and buy time. What do you recommend?
Which shifts the burden of decision to the server, who is the expert. That's just smart communication.
It is.
And if you haven't decided, you need the pause button. I'm still deciding. That utilizes the present continuous tense perfectly to explain the ongoing mental state of deliberation. It signals to the server, hold on, I haven't finished the task of choosing yet.
One of the most common pitfalls for English learners is handling special requests or dietary needs.
Oh, for sure.
The blueprint solves this with a clean, adaptable structure. Can I get this without onions? The form, can I get X without Y, is infinitely useful, whether you are dealing with allergies, preferences, or just, not liking something.
It's crucial because if you rely on describing your allergy in detail, you risk miscommunication. The structure is concise, it's focused on the modification, and it leaves very little room for error.
And what if your dining companion has already ordered something that looks good? Efficiency demands mirroring.
They'll have the same thing.
And notice the use of the future simple tense, I'll have. Even though the action is happening now, it's considered a decision made in the moment about a future delivery of food.
That's a key function of the future simple.
You finish the ritual with closure and appreciation. The request for payment must be clear.
Can I have the bill, please? Again, using the modal can in a question form to make a polite request.
And the general expression of satisfaction, thank you, everything was great. The simple past tense confirms the positive completion of the experience.
And that distinction between asking for the bill and asking about food to go is also essential. They are separate logistical requests.
Do you have takeaway?
Yes, it uses that simple structure to ask about the existence of the service rather than asking for a specific item. Okay, now for travel and transport. When traveling, speed and accuracy of information are paramount.
Definitely.
This section is all about using precise interrogatives to establish location and measure duration, relying primarily on where and how long.
The location question is the most basic survival tool. Where is the nearest station? Simple, direct, and functional.
Yeah.
And the time quantification. How long does it take to get there? This structure, using take to get, is so specific and essential for logistical planning.
Once location is established, logistics involve purchasing and validation. I'd like to buy a ticket continues that polite request framework we saw earlier.
And before boarding, the critical confirmation check. Is this the right bus?
A direct, closed question, it forces immediate confirmation and prevents travel errors.
And when words fail, visuals save the day. The inclusion of "can you show me on the map" is brilliant.
It is.
It leverages nonverbal communication, giving the learner a way to communicate a complex destination without having to rely purely on spoken language.
And similarly, I'm looking for this address, uses the present continuous to signal the active, ongoing search process.
Let's talk about high-stakes travel. Like the airport, the list provides, "I just arrived at the airport."
This is a perfect example of the present perfect tense, just arrived.
Why is this better than the simple past, "I arrive"?
Because the present perfect emphasizes a completed action that has immediate relevance now. I arrived moments ago, and therefore my status is here and I'm ready for the next step, customs, baggage claim, whatever.
It connects the past event to the present moment, which is exactly what a status update needs to do.
Right. And then you have the necessary phrase for handling problems, often using the passive structure. My flight was delayed.
Now, compare that to "my flight has been delayed," the present perfect passive.
Okay, so was delayed focuses on the event of the delay. It happened in the past. Has been delayed focuses on the current consequence. The delay is ongoing and it affects my status right now.
So it's a subtle difference.
It is. And while was delayed is often functionally sufficient, understanding the present perfect passive here would give the learner the ability to emphasize the ongoing impact. The blueprint gives us the simplest, most common structure. The simple past, passive.
These 20 sentences give the learner the power to organize food in transit, transforming them from passive consumers of services into active directors of their environment.
That's the goal.
All right, we've mastered the mechanics of daily life and transactions. Now we move into the trickiest part.
The social dynamics.
Exactly. This section gives the learner the tools to manage conversations, clarify confusion, and build actual relationships.
And this section is, I think, the single most vital category for a learner's confidence. These are the tools that allow you to pause, check, rewind, and re-engage.
They turn a potential communication breakdown into a moment of learning.
They do. These are the learner's conversational controls.
I like that. Thinking of these phrases as stepping on the conversational brakes or hitting the rewind button. If the speaker is moving too fast, you need a polite interruption.
Could you speak more slowly?
The modal "could" is softer than "can," making it an extremely polite request to change the speaker's behavior.
And if you miss the content entirely, you hit rewind. Can you repeat that, please? Here, can is entirely appropriate.
Why is that?
Because you're asking for a simple physical action repetition, not a fundamental behavior change.
A common learner mistake is just saying, "What?" or, staring blankly.
We've all seen it.
These blueprint sentences provide immediate, structured, and polite alternatives. If the content, rather than the speed, is the problem, you state the issue directly. I didn't understand that.
And that leads to the request for clarification. What do you mean? This is an essential interrogative that forces the speaker to explain the concept, not just repeat the words.
Right. It signals active intellectual engagement, not just passive listening.
And sometimes simple repetition isn't enough. You need the speaker to approach the information from a new angle.
That's the function of, can you explain it again?
Yes, the verb explain demands rephrasing and context. It goes deeper than a mere repeat.
These sentences also provide the language for internal cognitive processing. If you need a moment to translate or synthesize something, you need a phrase to buy time without sounding rude.
Let me think for a moment is perfect. It uses the imperative, let me, but in a way that signals active mental work is happening.
And once you process it, you need confirmation. That makes sense.
Such a short, powerful phrase. It validates the previous speaker and confirms comprehension. It maintains the flow of the discussion.
It does.
And finally, showing active listening and consensus. I completely agree with you. This is an assertive statement of alignment.
By mastering these 10 sentences, the learner gains the power to manage the conversation rather than being swept along by it.
That is the difference between surviving a conversation and guiding it.
Okay, so once we can handle the communication mechanics, we turn to connection, the structure of social relationships.
It starts with the necessary check-in and status queries.
The two foundational questions. They're the entry points to any ongoing relationship.
First, how was your day? This inquires about the past experience, opening up discussion of events and emotions.
And second, what are you up to? Which uses the continuous tense to inquire about current activity or immediate plans.
They are the twin keys to initiating a natural interaction.
The next phase is the language of invitation. We see the classic informal query. Do you want to hang out later?
And the more proactive, inclusive proposal, let's go for a walk. That imperative structure, let's, creates immediate shared action.
And just as important as the invitation is the ability to affirm it simply and enthusiastically.
That sounds fun.
Yes. That response uses the simple present to confirm the positive nature of the idea, moving the conversation forward quickly and positively.
Let's think about the cultural weight of these invitations for a second. In English, invitations often require a light touch. If you ask, are you going to hang out with me? It can sound a bit aggressive.
It can, yeah.
But do you want to hang out? Uses the auxiliary verb do to open up the possibility without demanding a commitment.
This section also includes the critical phrases for positive conclusion and relationship maintenance. After an interaction, you have to solidify it.
I had a great time today, using the simple past to summarize a positive shared memory.
And that memory is immediately followed by the commitment to the future. Let's do this again soon.
This ensures the positive social dynamic doesn't just disappear when the conversation ends.
The source material also recognizes the importance of emotional intelligence phrases. We need to offer encouragement and comfort.
Don't worry, it's okay is a universal phrase for mitigation and support.
And the vital expression of shared positive emotion. Congratulations, I'm happy for you.
And finally, the necessary sign-off that ensures the relationship is maintained. Take care of yourself.
It's personal, warm, and ends the interaction gracefully. This entire section gives the learner the structural framework for entering, managing, and exiting human connection with grace.
Yeah, that's a great summary.
We've arrived at our final set of categories. These sentences deal with the unavoidable small crises of everyday life.
Which always happen.
They always happen. And then we wrap up with perhaps the most powerful language of all, the internal dialogue of the successful learner.
Okay, these are the practical, functional sentences needed when routine fails, and you have to explain a deviation or solve an immediate physical problem. They focus heavily on location and managing time expectations.
When you are mobile and delayed, you need to explain your status. I'm waiting for the bus uses the present continuous to clearly state the ongoing, paused action.
But the more stressful phrase is, I'm stuck in traffic. Again, the continuous tense is the go-to for communicating current, inconvenient, and temporary situations.
It seems like almost all sentences used to explain a current problem rely on the present continuous.
Because the problem is actively happening now. If you say, I wait for the bus, it sounds like a habit.
Right.
I'm waiting confirms the immediate status.
And following a delay, you must manage the other person's expectation using a specific time commitment structure. I'll be there in 10 minutes.
The use of the future simple, I'll be, combined with a firm number manages anxiety and expectation. It's so clear.
We also address the universally necessary phrases related to technology, the modern emergency, battery life.
It really is. I need to charge my phone uses that necessity structure perfectly.
And the polite request to solve the problem. Can I borrow your charger?
Let's reflect on the phrase, I forgot my keys. This uses the simple past tense to describe the completed mistake.
It's functional, concise language that explains a momentary lapse in efficiency.
And compare that to, I have forgotten my keys, the present perfect. While it's grammatically correct, the simple past focuses purely on the action, which is all you need when explaining a small calamity. The choice of tense here is just more efficient.
It focuses on the event, not the prolonged state.
Exactly. And after any movement or minor crisis, the confirmation phrase is vital. I arrived safely. This uses the simple past and acts as a reassuring update to others, signifying successful transition and closure of the journey.
These sentences provide the emotional and linguistic stability needed to deal with the inevitable unpredictability of daily life, turning a moment of panic into a quick logistical update.
And that's a powerful skill. This final set of 10 sentences is, I think, the most potent element of the blueprint.
Why is that?
It shifts entirely from external communication to the internal reflective dialogue of the learner. These are action-oriented verbs used to articulate and reinforce the learning process itself.
This is the meta-language of learning. The learner needs the words to express their commitment and their process.
Declarative statements like, I'm trying to improve my English and I practice every day, are so powerful.
The first uses the continuous tense to show the ongoing effort. The second uses the simple present to confirm the daily habit.
The list then breaks down the specific components of the learning process. I'm learning new words and I'm listening carefully. Notice the heavy reliance on the present continuous.
To reinforce that this is an ongoing, active process.
Yes, not a passive consumption of information. You are currently actively doing the work.
And the sentences validate the methodology the source promotes, repetition and practice. Speaking out loud helps me a lot.
This statement provides the learner with the vocabulary to describe their personal learning success to others, which is itself a confidence boost.
This section moves the learner from acknowledging the process to recognizing progress. The affirmation, I'm getting better every day, uses the present continuous.
To signify that the improvement is a continuous, measurable trend, and this is crucial for maintaining motivation.
And then, the psychological barrier that stops most learners. Fear of failure. The blueprint provides the necessary declaration. I'm not afraid of mistakes.
That is a linguistic declaration that empowers the learner to actively use the other 99 sentences without the paralysis of perfectionism. It's a necessary mindset tool.
The final three phrases are absolute statements of unbreakable commitment and self-acceptance.
I will keep going. It uses the future simple tense to solidify the learner's commitment regardless of future challenges.
I can do this. The assertive declaration of capability, leveraging the modal, to express possibility.
And the incredibly powerful final statement, I'm proud of myself.
This ties the entire deep dive together.
It does.
Confidence is not just about grammatical accuracy. It is the psychological product of continuous, structured practice. This section gives you the language to affirm the work you are doing right now.
So we have completed the deep dive into this unique blueprint. We built confidence from the internal routine and necessity framework, moved through the modal-heavy world of external transaction and negotiation,
Navigated the high-stakes survival scenarios of dining and travel.
and finally armed you with the essential language of connection and self-affirmation.
What this analysis proves is that fluency isn't about knowing every obscure word. It's about knowing the functional structures that govern your daily life.
Right.
By mastering the sequence and the underlying tense usage in these 10 categories, from the fixed calendar of I wake up early to the self-affirming certainty of I will keep going, you gain the predictable pattern required to eliminate social friction.
This curated collection provides robust scaffolding. It gives you the structure for every polite request, every status update, and every moment of clarity you need. We've seen that grammar is not just a set of rules.
It's a set of tools.
It's a set of tools designed to achieve a social or logistical function.
And that returns us directly to the core mandate of the source material. The more you practice, the more confident you become. The structural understanding we've built today should supercharge that repetition.
So, as you continue to repeat these 100 perfect sentences, here is our provocative closing thought for you to explore as you move toward next-level fluency.
We analyze the structure, but now focus on the intention behind the structure. When you hear these phrases used in the real world, analyze the subtle difference between the linguistic meaning and the social function.
For instance, if a colleague says, "I'll get back to you soon," based on our analysis, they're using the future simple to promise action. But is the intent a genuine promise, or is that phrase functioning as a polite delay tactic to move you along?
Good question.
And similarly, when you hear, "I'm just looking, thank you," is that a soft rejection, or is it a hard boundary set by the shopper to maintain privacy?
The key to using these 100 sentences effectively is understanding that tone and context translate these simple words into complex social maneuvers. By analyzing the intention behind the structure, you learn not just to speak.
But to truly understand the conversation happening around you.
That is where true daily confidence lies.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the blueprint of daily English confidence.
We'll see you next time.